What's up, everybody? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets, the most fun team in the NBA. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials in the description as well. And let's go ahead and get started. So the Charlotte Hornets, I was relatively high on this team before the season, at least compared to most other people. I'm not taking a victory lap on it just because they've started the season well. They should be 4-0. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's just worth pointing out that this is such a fun team to watch. So the reason that I liked the Hornets coming into the season was twofold. One, they were a good team last year before LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward got hurt. Once those two guys got hurt, they just didn't have nearly enough perimeter creation or offense or playmaking in transition, the things that made them a good basketball team. Once those guys got hurt, it was obviously going to be really difficult for them to continue to compete on a night-to-night basis. But in April of last year, they were 27-24. They were the fourth seed ahead of Atlanta, Miami, Boston, and New York. They didn't end the season all that well, but still, there was a lot of things pointing in the direction of Charlotte being a playoff team this year. And then the other part of it was just having LaMelo, having Gordon Hayward, and then a complete roster of guys around them that fit. This is a team that likes to play up and down. They want to get blocks and deflections and steals, get out in transition. They've got guys that can shoot. They've got great playmakers in LaMelo and Gordon Hayward. And I just felt really confident about them being maybe a top 6 team potentially in the East. And an Eastern Conference that is very, very good and very, very competitive. I felt like Charlotte was a team that a lot of people were overlooking. It also helps, by the way, I have to put this in the beginning of the video. In terms of them being a fun team, a league pass team, it helps that they have potentially the best regional announcer, not named Ian Eagle or Mike Breen, out of any of the teams. I know there's a ton of really, really great regional announcers, but strictly from an excitement standpoint, like this guy makes the 4th game of the regular season sound like an NBA Finals game. He's losing his mind. He's a perfect match with this team, with LaMelo, with Bridges. It's so much fun. I had to get that part in there. Okay. Some things that are happening so far for Charlotte this season. The pace is out of control. Every time you turn the game on, they are sprinting up and down the floor, and it makes sense. I mean, LaMelo is one of the best open floor, open transition playmakers that we have in the entire league. Like I said, they have multiple guys that can play make because it's not just LaMelo and Hayward. You've got Terry Rozier. You've got the rookie Bouknight that hasn't been a huge factor so far. You've got Ish Smith making appearances out there, and that's the big thing for this Hornets team is there's a lot of guys. Like there's just a lot of people they can throw on the floor. Not to the same high level competing type, way as this team last year, but it reminds me a lot of Phoenix from last year, where one of the things I said about them at the beginning of the season was they don't put bad basketball players on the court. Charlotte, they might put a few bad basketball players on the court sometimes, but they don't put any boring players on the court. They are just so exciting from start to finish. And I can't be more impressed with LaMelo through his first season plus a handful of games than I have been. Last year, I don't think anybody really expected him to make a huge immediate impact, just relative to other rookies that we've seen. It was always going to be a high ceiling pick for Charlotte, but he came in, and once they finally gave him the reins and let him run the team, he was fantastic. He's got great size, great length. The shot has come a long way. Incredible playmaking skills, which is the one thing we knew about LaMelo when he came into the league, was he has great vision and he's going to be able to pass the ball. That's his elite skill. That's why I felt so confident about saying he should be the first pick in the draft, because I didn't feel like anybody else in that class had an elite skill other than him, but he's rounded out the other parts of his game. Yes, he needs to get better defensively. Yes, sometimes the turnover's a little bit too much. Maybe the shot selection isn't always fantastic, but he's a young guy, and he's a guy that has not taken nearly a traditional path to the NBA, being all over the place, and his professional experiences before coming to the NBA are all over the place as well, but he's just so much fun to watch, and he's perfect for this team. Playing in transition, playing with Bridges and Washington, but also not always needing to be on the ball and being able to work on being an off-ball guard, a combo guard, a guy that can shoot, letting Gordon Hayward, get into some ball screen stuff and score in the mid-range so that not everything that they do is just threes and layups, getting to the free throw line. They're so much fun to watch. The other part of this too is I really like Charlotte's coach. Since he got there, he's got a Spurs background, but it's just, you're almost never disappointed with them. Either when you're watching them or just with their record in general, he just feels like a guy that is going to, worst case, get what he should out of the team. And a lot of times he'll get even more out of the team than he should. He just has this way of getting guys to play the right way, lifting them up in ways that they need to be lifted up, but also making sure the guys understand that, their opportunities are going to be earned. And I think a lot of that started with, not just handing the reins over to LaMelo immediately. I love their coaching staff. And now I want to talk about the roster, because I think LaMelo and I think Hayward and I think these guys, get a lot of attention. But up and down, there's just so many interesting guys. So Bridges is like near the top of the league right now in terms of points per game, because he had 2 30-point games, in the very beginning of this season. He's not a 30-point per game scorer kind of guy, but he's a guy that's looking for some money. And he is such a crazy athlete. The thing with him when he came into the league was that he didn't have very long arms. Like, he just didn't have a great wingspan, but he's a crazy athlete. And even though he doesn't really have a position, they put him in ball screens. He's awesome in transition. He's worked on his jump shot. He's going to be a really, really good productive player for them. PJ Washington, another guy that I really like. They have a couple of players that you look at them and you're like, I don't really know what position they are. And they say, well, it doesn't really matter, because we're just going to put them in a ball screen. And essentially they're the 5 on offense, but they're skilled semi-perimeter guys. PJ Washington is another one of those. Like I said, Bouknight hasn't gotten a huge opportunity at this point. Rozier's had some injury issues, so they're not even playing at their full potential on a night-to-night basis. But there's just so much. I mean, Jalen McDaniels, like, there's just so many super fun guys. Kelly Oubre, like we talked about, is a nice little addition for this roster. The big thing for them is going to be, how do you go from like spunky, interesting team to a legitimate, middle tier playoff team? And a lot of that is going to come down to, can they figure out a way to guard more consistently? Are they going to be able to get pretty good production out of the 5 spot? Right now, they're looking at a rotation of like Kai Jones and Plumlee and some other guys. That's consistently been an issue for them, but that's not the end of the world. I would much rather have the perimeter guys, the wing guys, the forwards, that stuff figured out before I really try and, lock in on trying to find my 5 of the future. Kai Jones could be interesting down the road. You never know, but that's really kind of the last priority for me. And so for Charlotte, it's going to come down to, for this season, can they figure out a way to guard? Because, on a night-to-night basis, there's going to be nights where your shot's not falling, and you're going to be able to need to hold a team to 95, 100 points to win a basketball game on occasion. They haven't really shown a willingness to do that to this point, and I'm not convinced they really have the personnel either. As many interesting wings as they have, Oubre, Bridges, Washington, none of these guys are outstanding defenders. I talked about the limitations of Bridges when it comes to his wingspan. That's just going to be an issue for him, not being able to contest shots as well. And they don't really have a matchup for, like, Giannis isn't, not that anybody has a matchup for Giannis, but like Kevin Durant showing up to town. Like, who are we putting on Kevin Durant? Granted, they beat the Nets the other night, but that's going to continue to be an issue. But in the long term, it's also about, what's the pairing going to be? Is it just going to be LaMelo and Gordon Hayward and interesting wings? Because even though that's fun and they're a very fun team this year, if you're trying to be something more than that, which Charlotte has been trying to be since Michael Jordan bought the team, because they've tried the we're an interesting playoff team thing with Kemba, and they blew it up. And even before Kemba, they just continually blown it up whenever they've just been a 7 or 8 seed at absolute best. So unless there's, a continued amount of huge consistency from Gordon Hayward and you feel like that's the pairing, at some point a move's going to be made here, because as talented as LaMelo is and as fun as he is to play with, there's going to be opportunities for them to bring in another guy. Now, because it's Charlotte, like, I don't think, Bradley Beal is going to be that guy, nor would I really want it to be. I think given the timeline they have where everything kind of centers around LaMelo and they've got all these other young guys, they can kind of wait. They can kind of take their time, and sometime within the next 2 years, go out and get another guy, whether that be moving up in the draft, whether that be, a sneaky free agency signing like the Hayward one that's actually worked out pretty well. They're going to have opportunities, but that's really where the ceiling gets raised, is when they bring in another guy. But for this season, presuming everybody stays healthy, which was the issue last year with Hayward and LaMelo, and with Hayward, it's been a continued issue throughout his NBA career. Assuming those guys stay healthy, this is a playoff roster. Whether they get there, I don't know. Again, injury issues and just a very, very deep conference that includes teams like Chicago starting the season undefeated. Whether they can be like a true top 6 seed, I don't know. But through the first couple of games of the season, I do feel at least slightly vindicated in this idea that not only is Charlotte good from a roster standpoint, but they're really, really fun. If you haven't watched a Hornets game yet, turn it on. They've got an awesome announcing team. They've got a super fun young team that loves to play in transition. They're a super fun team to watch. Just give it a shot. Let me know what you think. The Hornets are one of the best stories of the season for me to start the year. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you enjoy the videos, make sure to leave a like rating on them. Or if you enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like rating on it. Check out more videos from me, the box on screen as well, and the socials in the description as well. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.